Something that I've said many times before is that what we're actually facing here is a spiritual battle. Many of the things that are offered to us, such as the New Age movement, many spiritual pathways that people pursue, these sorts of pathways are very often designed to steer you away from any real participation in life as well. And that may seem like a strange thing to many people, but it's true. If you spend your life sitting there in hours of solitary meditation, you're kind of missing out on the world that you live in and the people around you who all came here to share the experience with you. And really, it's about the experience. We spend a lot of time during life wanting to find the oneness that we believe exists. But really, when you have experienced that true oneness in meditation or in ceremony, it's actually a very lonely place to be. It's actually profoundly lonely. And you're going to get plenty of that after this experience is over. So make sure you don't miss out on the path and miss out on the journey that you're on and miss out on the experience and the joy of duality, the joy of actually having someone to have a conversation with. Duality in itself is how experience happens. Without duality, you can't have any experience because you're simply at one with the entire universe. You are all-knowing, all-powerful, all-omnipotent. Where is there to go from there? Who is there to talk to? What is there to do with all of that information? Could that be why we come here? Why we come here to experience this grand duality amnesiac experiment? Because it's really the only way to have what we would call experience. It's the only way to have any real experience at all. And without the amnesia that goes along with it, well, how would you have anything new ever happen? You'd already know the outcome of everything. You'd already know every experience, every sensation. So you need to come into this reality with a completely fresh slate, not knowing anything, in order to make the experience even worth having. Indeed, to even have an experience. Think of something that you really love to do and remember the joy that you got the first time you did that, and the joy that you received the many times that you did it after that. But if this went on for 10,000 years or a million years, how much joy would you get from it? And so you have to live the life in a state of amnesia, or else there is nothing to experience. One of the greatest things to know about life is that it's about the experience. It's about the journey. It's not about collecting stuff. It's not about material wealth. We often think it is. We think that this quest for wealth and this quest for intellectual knowledge or this quest for whatever is experiencing life, but it isn't. Life is about sensation. It's about taste. It's about smell. It's about sight. It's about feeling things. It's about touch. It's about eating food. It's about feeling emotions, learning what these emotions are for and how to use these emotions, and feeling love for another person. Experiencing the trees, the birds, the butterflies, the ocean, all of the incredible things that are here to experience, that only exist in physicality. And it has nothing to do with the accumulation of wealth. It's about the journey. We go down this pathway of this quest for knowledge or this quest for wealth, but what you find is that the more of it that you get, the less satisfied you become. It's an interesting thing. If you gave everybody in the world $10 million, or $100 million, or $1 billion, or whatever, just give them unlimited wealth. Probably within a week or two, or a month or two, certainly within a year, they'd all be bored silly. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves. If they were able to do everything, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves, because none of the things that they really do in life are real pursuits. Like if we get $10 million, what are we going to do? They're going to go and spend it on traveling the world and going to all these places, which have all been homogenized to be the same as everywhere else. Or what are we going to do? Buy fancy clothes or a fancy car or a big house or whatever. We buy all this stuff, we get all these things, but it doesn't really mean anything because it's not really about that. We think that if we reach these goals, it's actually going to mean something, but it doesn't. It's just a distraction from who we are. It's the same as a lot of the intellectual pursuits that we indulge ourselves in as well. The more knowledge we get, the less we know. Because as you accumulate more and more knowledge, you begin to realize that it's mostly other people's opinions, and you don't really know the validity of most of it anyway. You don't really know how reputable most of these sources are. We might say, well, look, they come from very reputable books by reputable authors, but how do you know? How do you know they're actually reputable? I begin to question everything. Because, ultimately all that we know is that which exists within living memory. All the rest of it is simply stuff that we've been told. what I've discovered is that the only real truth I ever knew and will ever know is myself. If you really want to understand the world and understand the predicament of mankind and attempt to figure a way out of it, you really need to put things into perspective. And something that people need to understand is that what's going on here is essentially people farming. We're living in a people farm, ladies and gentlemen, and the best way to enslave the masses is for the masses to live in a prison that they cannot see. And that's the thing, folks. We've forgotten that we are people. We've forgotten that we are man. We have forgotten that God created man and gave man dominion over the earth, and we are man, and everything below that is a creation of man. We have a creator, whatever that is, whatever you perceive it to be, even if you're agnostic, there's somewhere that you come from. And whatever that is, well, that's your creator. So that's just the way you can look at it, folks. But it's helpful in remembering who and what you are, remembering that you are here for the experience, folks. Nobody owns you. Nobody has a right of ownership over you. And the only reason you believe that people do have a right of ownership or any right of authority over you at all is because you've been tricked into thinking that way. And it's imperative that we break out of this programming. You know, just knowing who and what you are, that is the most empowering information that you can have. And when you know how to stand in that, you know, as soon as you realize that you are a living vessel here for the experience and that no one has authority over you and that you are man, God created man and gave you dominion over the earth, just knowing that one simple fact is power. As soon as you remember that, that is power. Just standing in that one simple fact and asking the right questions is power. That is truly all the power that you need. It's just that most people don't know how to exercise that power because they don't really have the confidence in themselves to do so, and they don't generally understand the language that they're speaking. And the way you can put this into some sort of perspective is to truly understand what your body is made of. I mean, your body is 85% water, in fact more in some cases, but most people are around 85% water, and water has memory. And what are you? You were created, you are a product of the combined waters of your parents, and they are a product of the combined waters of all of their ancestors all the way down the line. And water has memory. That's the thing. The waters that created you, the combined waters of your parents, contain all the memory of all the experiences that your parents went through. All the emotion, all the emotional blockages, everything they experienced, everything they saw, everything they know is encoded in the water in their bodies. And it's the same for every ancestor all the way down the line. And you are a product of the combination of all of those waters, all of which contains all the memory of all of the experiences of those who came before, who created those combined waters that created you. If you look at the work of people such as Masamu Emoto, if you look at a film called Water, the Great Mystery, which goes through water clusters and shows how they're formed and confirms that water has memory and that it's stored through clusters. If you look at the work of people such as Victor Schauberger, who did some absolutely incredible work way back in the 1930s and 1940s or even before, Victor Schauberger actually showed and proved that water is a living, conscious substance, and that it also actually gives birth to itself. He performed experiments where he witnessed pools spontaneously giving birth to water, instances where pools suddenly gained a third of their size and all sorts of stuff. Like truly, really, really amazing work. And I would highly recommend, if anybody wants to understand water, that they look into the work of Victor Schauberger. But anyway, what we find when we look into all of this work is that water contains memory and that it's stored in water clusters. Water is quite literally the RAM drive of this earth, and it contains all the memory of everything that came before. You are a result of the combined waters of all your ancestral chain, and some of the blockages that you may be experiencing may well be ancestral blockages. Like, for example, if you've got a particular fear of spiders, for example, perhaps one of your ancestors had a nasty encounter with a spider. If you've got a fear of horses, perhaps the same sort of thing happened. There was a woman who had severe stomach pains all her life, and she found out that one of her ancestors had actually been stabbed in the stomach. And once she came to terms with that, she was able to heal that blockage. So all these things show that water has memory, and so it's very important to understand what your body is. It's like a biological computer, only it's analog, it's not digital. And that's another thing that they've attempted to do, a very clever thing, is they've attempted to superimpose this digital signal over our analog vessel. But you are analog. Everything that is living is analog. We are basically a living analog system, and everything that we are, all of our emotions, all of our experience, all of the experience of our ancestors, everything that makes us who we are is encoded within the waters that are contained within the vessel. And all the memory of everything else is encoded in the waters of the earth. It's very important that people realize the truth of this, because it's very helpful in them realizing who and what they are. And it's also very helpful in seeing how easy it is for them to be energetically controlled. What you are essentially is a conscious electrical signal that is powering that water-based vessel. But we are mainly water folks, and it's the electrical signal that flows through the vessel that contains us. Well, that's our operating system anyway. I mean, research would indicate that your consciousness is not local to your body. It exists in the field around your body, surrounding you, and that your DNA is simply tuned to a frequency which downloads that particular consciousness into your vessel, so that's what you experience. And it's all run by electricity, folks, because this is an electrical universe. Everything is electricity. Really, when you break it down to its component parts, folks, it doesn't matter whether the Earth is round or flat or hollow or concave or holographic. It doesn't matter, because really, when you break it down to its component parts, everything is electricity. Everything is energy. Remember the words of Nikola Tesla, who once said that if you want to understand reality, you need to think of it in terms of energy and of frequency. Everything is energy, folks. It's an electrical universe, and that is how your body is powered. That's how all the experiences you experience are contained. It's all electrical. Everything you feel or taste or touch or hear, it's all electrical impulses that are picked up by your brain.